So what would you do if you had a business and it was moving along fairly successfully for about 2 years, and then at the end of the second year, for some reason that you didn't know at the time, you all of a sudden lost half of the business that you just created? Would it cause you to rethink your choices, go in another direction, maybe think, hey, this isn't for me. If it was meant to be, it didn't work out. Or would you completely revamp your entire process, build it up much stronger, much better, until it became one of the premier places for people within that industry to go? Well, if you answered the latter, then you're really going to love hearing what today's guest has to say, because his name is Matt Reagan, and he is the CEO and co-founder of Operation 36. And Matt and his business partner, Ryan Daly, did just that. They had a very successful junior program going, and then at the end of 2 years, they lost half of the kids that were coming to the program. And they really took a deep dive into finding out why, and then rebuilding their ideas and their thought on how to go about bringing kids, beginners into the game, coaching them along, and most importantly, having fun in the process. So we get into all that in today's show. I'm a big fan of what these guys and their entire team are doing. They're growing the game. They're teaching young people, and they're making it fun for them, and they're developing these kids into lifelong golfers. Not only that, but they've also expanded into beginners of all ages. So if you're an adult out there, or you know somebody who's been considering taking up golf and they just really don't have a direction to go in, they can get on the Operation 36 website. I've got the link down in the summary in the description below. And they can find one of about 525 facilities around the world that this program is now in. They're in 12 different countries, and it's just a great, great success story. Again, I was really, really happy to get Matt on. I had heard him speak, he and Ryan speak at a seminar a number of years ago, and I thought they were doing a great job then, and it's only improved ever since. So I hope you like today's show as much as I did talking to him. Really learned a lot, and I'm sure all of you are too. So as usual, please give it up for Operation 36 CEO and co-founder, Mr. Matt Reagan. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Golf 360 podcast. I'm the host, Pete Popovich. So you may be asking yourself, what is Golf 360? And Golf 360 is a show that was designed to introduce you to people associated with the game of golf to help you improve not only at your game, but also your life. Almost all of our guests are from within the industry in some way, shape, or form, but some of the guests we have are from outside the industry, and it mainly revolves around the business world with a few others scattered in here and there. Now, all of the guests that we have a few things in common. One, they all were highly successful and accomplished in their field. Two, each has something to pass along that will help you in your game and your life. And three, they were all more than willing to give back by passing along the things that they use to help them in their career, and even some of the mistakes that they made so that others don't make them in their journey. So I hope you find listening to them as enjoyable as I did interviewing them, and that each and every one of you benefits from the information that they so willingly and graciously pass along. Hey, everybody. I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the Golf 360 podcast, and that's Affinity Wealth Management Group. We all work exceptionally hard for our money, and none of us can afford to let that fall into the dark abyss of the big box financial service firms and their jack of all trades and master of none mantra, which basically means you become a number within a cookie cutter model that's also often accompanied by massive fees. Your future deserves more than average returns and little attention. At Affinity Wealth Management, they ensure that your financial goals receive highly individualized, tailored attention from experts, not just advisors, who are in the industry to be great and not average. As a client of Affinity Wealth, you receive a customized solution to your customized life, keeping in mind your family's financial situation, values, and risk tolerance. Call Affinity Wealth today for a no-cost consultation with one of their experts at 724-754-8200. Again, that's 724-754-8200. Or you can also check them out on the web at www.affinitywealthmg.com. That's AFFINITYWEALTHMG.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Just Thrive Probiotic. You may be surprised to learn that your digestive system is the key to creating and maintaining the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health, and it's one of the body's most essential systems. That's why the majority of nutritionists today highly recommend probiotics as an indispensable nutritional supplement. As a discriminating consumer, you've probably been searching for a probiotic that is proven, potent, and effective, and you found it. Just Thrive is your best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Just Thrive Probiotic captures the power of hundreds of thousands of years of nature's design with a specialized bacillus strain formulation that guarantees survivability through the stomach and upper digestive system. Supports optimum gut health, digestive health, immune health, and delivers antioxidants. Great for adults, kids, and the whole family. Use promo code GOLF360 at www.thriveprobiotic.com for 10% off your order. All right, Mr. Reagan, welcome to Golf 360 podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You guys do a lot of very, very good things for the game in general, for people as they can be introduced to the game at an elementary and beginning level. And I was introduced to you guys when you came down here and you did, as we talked before we came on, the educational portion for the local Hilton Head PGA. You were here at Belfair, and thought you guys had some great info. So I've been very anxious to get to talk to you more and learn more about what you guys do and all that good stuff.
No, we're excited to share it. So yeah, really appreciate you having me on, and always excited to talk about better ways that we can introduce and retain golfers. So that's kind of our passion and sweet spot. So we'd love to chat about it.
Let's start. So for some people who might be subscribers, listeners, all that good stuff, and maybe don't know what Operation 36 is, can you just kind of start there at the beginning and give a description, tell what it is, and we'll run with that?
Yeah, so Operation 36 is a golf program that is a developmental program. So the goal is to provide someone with the best introduction to the game and then give them a long-term framework and model to kind of follow to improve. And so all Operation 36 locations use the Operation 36 development model, which is essentially we're going to get you on the golf course, and we're actually, instead of starting you on the full tee box, we're going to learn golf in reverse and start you close to the hole, which we have a division called Division 1, 25 yards from the hole. And we want you to get on the golf course and see success from day one. So we're going to set a goal to potentially shoot par that day. That would be the score of 36. And if you can, or you do shoot par, so every hole is a par 4 and you play 9 holes, then we're going to lengthen the course a little bit, and you're going to unlock more of the course and play from 50 yards the next time you play. So the model is really about giving someone a course that is scaled to their skill level, where they have the opportunity to shoot a respectable score and an enjoyable score. And then after they actually play on the golf course, which we want to happen in the first day of their journey, we want them to train every week and give them a program or an environment where they can progress through the model and then support them for the lifetime of the player. So, and what we have found to be really successful is if they do like a weekly group class once a week with a group of other students that are working to improve their game, whether they're complete beginners or maybe intermediate players, we can get them in a group environment to train their skills, develop their skills in a fun and encouraging way. And then they're playing in 9-hole events where they get to go test their skills out on the golf course and get to play the course in a fun and enjoyable way with others, and get to fall in love with playing the game, which we think is really important that we don't shy away from when it comes to beginner golfers. So, and then we have technology to kind of encourage and connect and create this community feel around getting better at the game of golf and enjoying the journey as you improve. And but our sweet spot again is kind of we really think there's a disconnect between how we should introduce a golfer to the game, and there's really no standard out there. And we don't believe it should be take 5 lessons, you're on your own, or keep taking private lessons. We believe it should be, hey, let's go play your first 9 holes today, and then give you a long-term plan to improve, which improves retention, gives everyone a clear plan, and it just makes them feel they don't feel lost. They know that there's a plan in place to take them, and there's a product to support it and guide them when they're not in the program. So that's kind of the overview of kind of the encompassing of what Operation 36 is. And we have over 525 program locations around the world. I think we're in 10 countries that are kind of leveraging the Operation 36 program and model at their facilities to provide more of a developmental versus a traditional program at their club.
Where did the idea come from? Where'd you get it started?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to team up with our other co-founder, Ryan Daly, in 2010 at Keith Hills Golf Club, which is Campbell University's golf course in Boise Creek, North Carolina. So are you familiar with Campbell at all?
Yeah, I actually went to Ferris State many years ago, but as I'm assuming you went through the PGM program there at
I
Campbell.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
did.
as that program has grown around the country, I've somewhat kept an eye on it, and just as an alum, nice to see it growing so much.
Yeah. And that's where I teamed up with Ryan. He was actually the assistant director of the golf management program, and I was a student um, at the time. And I knew I wanted to coach, and Ryan helped place us on internships. So I got to do some really neat internships with coaching, and came back from my 7-month internship in Minnesota with Brad Pluth, who provided an amazing opportunity for me to learn how to coach and kind of build my own little coaching business with him. And then came back and told Ryan that I knew I wanted to do junior golf. And little did I know that Ryan was working on a plan too. And him and I flew out to California together to go through Titleist Performance Institute's youth player development track or junior development track. And they were kind of the first to expose us and get us thinking about, the idea that, gosh, we could develop golfers for the long term, or how do you put a long-term plan in place? How do you integrate long-term athlete development with golf? And him and I fell in love with that concept and decided, hey, why don't we try to team up here at Keith Hills? Because Ryan had the opportunity to start a program because the facility really wanted more families and activity at the golf course. And they asked him to lead that charge. And Ryan invited me on the journey, and we just haven't stopped working together ever since. So it started with 3 kids at Keith Hills Golf Club with the basic concept of come once a week for 8 months out of the year, and we'll turn you into a golfer. And we thought we would, we actually really wanted to work with some better players, and ended up getting complete beginners, and learned the hard way how challenging it is to take a beginner and get them competent enough where they feel like they're going to play their game for life. And it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of working and redesigning how you do things to keep it fun and motivating, and providing that roadmap. And that's really how I got started. And then about 4 years in, if you haven't heard our story before, we ended up having 80 golfers come in once a week for 8 months out of the year in Little Boise Creek, North Carolina. It was going awesome. And we ended up losing 40 of our golfers, and they didn't sign back up. And we started, about this time of year, we were saying, hey, who wants to, we just want to let everyone know program's starting again. You're already enrolled for March. And we started getting the emails, hey, Claire's not enrolling again. Johnny's not enrolling again. And that's when it started to hit us hard. Like, what is going on? We've had these kids we built relationships with for 3 years. Why is there all of a sudden a lack of interest? And every single kid that did not sign up again, after working with them for 3 years, that was taking a break, none of them actually played golf outside of the program, which was really, really eye-opening. And all the ones that were still in the program had parents or grandparents or some sort of environment where they were playing golf outside of the program. And that was the key differentiator. And that led us down a path to go, wow, we need to make sure that we introduce people to playing the game, because if not, it doesn't matter how many games or how fun we make something or how clear a roadmap is. We have to get them playing the game of golf. And we, I think, you might agree, we as an industry usually avoid getting beginners to play the game of golf because we really have never had a model or a way or a common way to do that that's going to be motivating, but also get them around the golf course in our 10-minute tee time interval that won't hold up the game of golf and the play for other existing golfers that are out there. So that's kind of what brought us to spending a full year figuring out a better way to get someone on the golf course, which is, we came up with the Operation 36 model: start close to the hole, give someone a goal that's achievable, and scale this course to their skill. And tried that out, and it worked out to be fantastic on the golf course for everybody. And then started embracing that and building it back into the program we developed over the first 5 years. And so now the last 5 years has been a lot of golf pros reaching out and wanting to use the program. And we've, figured out a way to build technology around it to make it easy for pros to run, to make it motivating for the players to progress and to know where they are in their development. And now we have a team of 12 in North Carolina that's all we do is support program locations, and are working to grow developmental program locations for any facility that wants, more families, wants to welcome beginners in the right way at their facility. And that's what we do now full time here in North Carolina.
It is, when you got started, was the focus directed more on just getting kids to come out and introduce them to the game, and then as you guys kind of went back and reevaluated on why that wasn't working, it became multifaceted? Yeah, we've got to get them out there, but we've also, and keep them engaged, but we've also got to develop them because we want to turn them into full-fledged golfers.
Yeah, like actually the first, Ryan and I had enough experience before working together, and there was a bit of frustration, I think, of every time we worked with kids, whether it was on internships or in camps or whatever it was, it always felt a bit like a babysitting service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like parents would drop them off, the parents weren't engaged, the kids weren't engaged, and they kind of walk all over you for about, an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long you had them. And we all have been built, I would say, leaning on this concept of just make it fun, right? Just make everything fun and everything will be okay. So we really wanted to approach it when we teamed up together, and TPI is the one who kind of gave us a bit of vision here, was to say, how do you actually develop someone from their first day and continue them in the sport, right? And there's a lot of factors that play into that. How do you, if you got the kid for 90 minutes or an hour every week for 8 months out of the year, that's a better start, right? Like, let's get them coming consistently for the entire golf season. Not to only do golf, right? We want them to play multiple sports, but guess what? Every other sports program understands that, if I want to create a gymnast, or I want to create a dancer, or I want to create a great baseball player, or I want them to be good at karate, they have to come consistently to develop skills. Like, it doesn't just happen. And unfortunately, golf is one of those sports where it takes quite a long time to develop skills. So you have to kind of reshape the narrative for these folks as they're going through the program to make them feel good every step of the way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of started, like, by the time Ryan and I actually kicked off, we were a little bit ahead of, like, let's just introduce it and make it fun. We were already diving into, let's get them to come consistently, and then figure out what are the most important things to actually see development. And then how do you actually let them have fun and enjoy the environment, but also get them better and not shy away from that, right? Like, there is this fine line of, let's just let them go out and play a bunch of games in every class, right? To, I want to put a structure in place to see you're getting better as well. Without being too regimented and saying, like, you think about, like, I'm just going to put you in, you're going to work on nothing but technical stuff, and there's no fun or anything around this, right? Like, you have to have this healthy blend in this healthy environment. But I think if there's anything we've learned, it's just that, you immerse them in this environment that is motivating for them, gives them vision of where they're going to go, lets them make their decisions within the model. And then as they progress in their development, it's like, you're giving them an environment to take the actions they need to improve, right? And that's really what developmental golf programs and Operation 36 is about. Is, even if I didn't give much instruction to somebody, by just building the environment where they can come once a week in a group class to train their skills with fun games and learn a little bit with a curriculum, and then also go play on the golf course, they're going to become better, regardless of if you sit them on a driving range and give them technical instruction. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one question I have is, how do you incorporate or the blending, the merger, the marriage, however you want to call it, the fun aspect, but still, especially when you have beginners, implement the the mechanical aspect or the instructional aspect. Like here's how you hold a club. Here's how you take your stance. Here's how and so on.
Yeah. So yeah, as we've worked throughout time, so like what you're saying is, when do we actually give instruction? And I think on one side of this, there would be some folks on one side that would say, you know, you don't need to give them instruction. Let them figure it out on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like very, you just kind of, let them be them and let them progress as they want to progress. Then you have the other side of the equation, which like we're only going to work on technical stuff, right? That's the only thing that matters. And I don't care if it's fun or not, right?
Right. You got to have
Uh,
a well balanced or whatever is needed for a particular time in that person's development. It has to be the recipe has to be correct if they're to come out the way you want it to.
100%. And in the beginner's journey, repetition is more important than technique. When they have no motor pattern to hit a golf ball, to hit a putt a certain distance, to hit a chip shot, to hit a pitch shot, to hit a driver, when there's nothing really there, really you have to just get some basic, hey, this is what it looks like with other people around you. Try to replicate that and
Mm-hmm.
continue to replicate that, right? You don't need much instruction. This is what golf kind of looks like. If I watch 10 other people swing in a group, I'm going to try to swing a little bit like them. I'm going to try to make my putting stroke look a little bit like them. And just by putting everyone in that social group, they're learning all the while. But in our program, what we do is we actually have a 6-level curriculum with some objectives that we like to see and put in place, just so one, the student knows that we're going to teach them something. They're going to learn a little something every class. But more importantly, parents or adults that are joining the class know that they're going to learn a little bit. And they're not just going to train their skills the entire time, right? And using fun games. So we do believe, in what we have found to be successful is about, if you have a 60-minute class, about 5 to 10 minutes of it, if you layer in a little bit of instruction in the middle, it's actually a really good time to, they've been playing or training on the front end with a fun game and a good narrative for the class. And then you work in, hey, today we're going to cover the green reading objective today. And you're going to learn, highs, lows, ups, and, lefts and rights. And you're going to be able to show that to me with your hand. And we're going to look at every putt, and we're going to make a little ramp with our hand if it's going up. We're going to make a ramp going down if it's going down, and then we're going to tilt it to the left or tilt it to the right. We're going to make that decision before we putt. So we'll layer in a bit of that instruction in the middle, right, with the curriculum, depending on whatever objective we're covering that day. And then we finish it up with a game. And that's really a great structure to, one, make someone feel like they accomplished a little bit of learning. They feel more aware of why they're doing what they're doing. They feel more empowered when they're educated, and there's a bit of a curriculum that goes with it. And then you can let them get right back to, not that that's not fun or anything, but you get right back to the game, and you get them back working and playing in, different training games and training environments that make it fun as you wrap up class, as they're having fun with their friends. So I would say it's more of like a 90-10 when it comes down to group classes. And to be honest with you, when we started doing adults with the program, because we were kind of pushed into doing adults from our licensed locations that were saying, hey, what would you do differently with adults? And because at all of our locations we ran in Raleigh, we could only run juniors. And that's what led us to believe that, hey, there really isn't much different than we would do. We might not call the game you're playing Pirates that day, right? But we would, you're still going to play, and you're still going to train. Like, the fundamentals and the principles to get better are still there, and to make it fun are still there. So what we have found, though, is adults love digging into education a bit more than they like the environment, right? They love making sure that, how they're holding the grip is correct, and how they're, and you have a bit, that's kind of where their motivation lies at that age, versus, hey, I'd much rather just be playing this game right now, and so there's a fine blend, and it all depends on kind of the group you're working with. But that's kind of what we recommend, if that helps, is like, 10 minutes of education, and most of the class is fun and engaging. But if you don't have a program in place, if you don't have a model that people are leaning on, if you don't have a curriculum that you're progressing through, those are those tools that actually retain golfers, and they know that they're going to continue to see progress, or they're going to continue to develop over time, not only for the junior if it's a kid, but for the parent and for the adult as well.
It's interesting what you just said about the kids who come in, and you're showing them and then allowing them to do what they do or copy you. because kids are great at mimicking, right? I mean,
Yep.
my brother's daughter's about 18 months old, and now he's having to deal with watching what he says very closely, because if he, he's in the kitchen or whatever he's doing and he spills something and he says, "Oh shit." Next thing he knows, his daughter says, "Oh shit." And
Exactly.
then his missus is not very happy with him. But it's, I always find it fascinating that kids, their ability to mimic and self-teach, as you described, is phenomenal. And I see this a lot, and I try to help a lot of friends, because I've taught a number of kids and juniors, and I said, look, in the beginning, just take them to the course and let them, wherever if they want to go on a putting green, go on the putting green. If they want to go hit some balls, let them hit balls. Just let them do what they want to do. Let their mind, monkey brain, bounce around. That's what they do, right? They're in the house, they're jumping all over the sofa and the chair and everything else. That's where their mindset is. But they can adapt so much faster than we can as adults, right? They're not trying to accomplish something in particular, that they're letting their instinct develop. And then, as you said, as your adult beginners get into it, they're much more focused on, as they go learning rationalization and everything else throughout their life. Well, geez, is my grip on just right, or am I doing this correctly? The mindset completely changes.
100%. 100%. And motivations change, right? Like there's more awareness for an adult to say, I want to, and we all have to be aware of this when it comes to, introducing and retaining golfers. I want to look normal in this environment. I don't want to stand out. I want to look like a normal golfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, the instruction component, although we may not have predicted it as it comes, but you start to go, well, why are adults so much more, entranced in having like a curriculum and some education that they know they're going to learn in every class versus just showing up and doing a bunch of drills or playing a bunch of games? And why do they like to go to private lessons a little bit more sometimes versus group lessons if that choice isn't there? And it's 100% that, right? We're a little bit more rational. We've seen things, but we also understand, that other people are watching, and we just want to be comfortable at the end of the day. Of like, I always like to simplify things down to the most basic thing that people want. And, you've probably heard of like the 3 why rule, right? Just keep asking why,
Mm-hmm.
until you get down to the actual root of why they're doing it. And in almost every case, people want to be good at golf because they don't want to look stupid when they're out there. I mean, like that's really about it. And the challenge is, how do you make someone feel good about where they are in their development and let them know that that's okay where they are? And there's a lot of other people around the world in the same place that they are. So they feel comfortable right away from day one. And
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think kids, as young kids, that as the study and the reading I've done on them, on various people, Jordan Peterson, Jean Piaget, but kids seem to want one of their main purposes is to make their parents happy, right?
Yeah.
They seek approval from their parents, and then as they get in adolescence, then it's no longer their parents, it's their peers.
Yep.
And I think that kind of runs into being adults. As you said, people don't want to be embarrassed. And you're only embarrassed if you're thinking that your friends or whoever you're playing with, your peers, is going to look at you differently because you can't perform to a level that they can.
That's a really good way. I never had heard that, but you go from, parents who are kind of your role models, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that do a bit of directing, as you're getting older. And I have a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old. So, I completely get the story you told about watch what you say, because they are modeling you 24/7. And so, but then as that evolves, you go, you seek approval from your peers. That's really, really great point that I've never really thought about or I've done the research on. So I like that point, B.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I'm glad to see him some kind of getting re-engaged again. I know his wife has had health issues, and but if you don't follow him, check his stuff out. Very, very, that guy's really good.
Jotting that down, yeah.
And he's all over. I mean, he was lecturing all over the world. He had book 12 Rules for Life was one of his biggest sellers that came out a couple years ago, and he's getting ready to launch another one. I think it's coming out early next year.
That's awesome. I just jotted the name down. I'm going to have a look here. Put it on the book list.
You talked about the program is very objective and goal driven, but reachable. Was that an integral part when you guys first started, or was that part of the let's break it down and reassess and what we need to do to rebuild this thing to make it where people actually want to come and they enjoy it and they advance and they learn and they get better and all those good things?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, when we first started, it was more, TPI is the one who turned us on to, like, could you show progression, right? At the end of the day, just to clarify, I mean, yeah, we have set these attainable goals and little bite-sized goals to make someone feel good about that they are getting and seeing progression, right? When sometimes maybe that's not so clear in the game of golf. I think you agree, when someone comes out to play or practice for the first time, I think beginners, it's our core belief. We wrote an article on this called Golf's Black Hole, right? 98% of golfers or I think it's 96% of golfers are a 26 handicap or better. And what people are underestimating is how long it takes to become a 26 handicap. So when, the NGF just reported that we introduced 12 million people to the game, but we only, over the last 5 years, but we only retained 200,000 of them, which is, for every 100 golfers we introduce, we only retain less than 2 of them. Mm-hmm. That's pretty bad. And you go, well, why is that? And so, on one side of the equation, some folks would say, well, again, we can use the same narrative we've used for the last, I don't know how many years, like, let's just do drop-in clinics and make it fun and let them play games and make their own decisions and yada, yada, yada. Right. And, like Top Golf and all these things are doing a great job, introducing people to the sport and making it fun and providing like this entertainment experience. And I think the entertainment is getting better. However, I do think it's important that we actually put in if we want to turn these people into golfers, we have to show them that they are becoming a golfer, whether that's really their big motivator or not. If you're going to get some kids, as we say, that love to progress through the curriculum and they love learning and they love earning a little badge on a bag tag. And then you're going to get some kids that could care less about that. And that's okay. Right. But that's what we train our coaches to say, look, we have all these tools in place because you don't know what personality type is going to walk into your program. But each little piece that we built in here was because we've had an experience with a kid that we've taught that we said, this kid is not engaging in here. What could we build in that would make it fun for this personality type? What would make it fun for this personality type? And it's never going to be perfect in a group environment, right? Like, it's always about trying to improve the environment and put a better foundation in place and how you're going to model things and put, what you're putting people into, right? But that's when it comes to, like, our belief is when it comes to beginner golf, which if you're, I always love hearing the story of like what led someone or what their story is getting to play, but the stories are all the same that we hear is that there was someone, if you made it to the level we are as golf professionals, right? Some of the best players in the world. I'm nowhere near the best player in the world, right? But I was good enough to become a PGA professional and pass my player's ability test. I believe we are like the outliers that took the punches in the face through the first however many on-course rounds or balls that we hit. Something kept us in the sport where a majority of people are not going to take all those punches in the face. So how do we remove some of those punches as they become a skilled golfer? Because at some point, you got to make people feel good and know that they are developing and just clarify that for them, while also on the holding in the other hand, knowing and telling them and encouraging them that it takes time, right? And mm-hmm. It does. And that's, I think that's what we're up against as an industry is like we can do a better job onboarding people, but we have to stop underestimating how long it takes to create a 26 handicap. How long it takes to get someone to break 100. Because if you're playing golf and shooting over 100, it's going to take you over 4 hours to play the game. And now we get into pace of play issues and all these other stuff from a full tee box. So it's, to me, pace of play and all the things that folks, it's always a skill problem, but it's that narrative that we bring people into the game to let them know that they are progressing. So they they maybe, what we want them to do, Pete, is to walk away and go, I know what, maybe they step away from the sport for a month or something. Well, man, all of a sudden they're bored one day and then they go, well, let me go pick up my wedge and chip in the yard. And then they start to remember, gosh, when I was on the golf course, I was only one stroke away from passing that next division. I want to go try that again. It's about planting this environment where they're like, I wonder if I could do that again. Like, it's because we all, at some point, like, we all wake up and are a bit goal driven for some reason. If we have nothing to work towards, or we don't need to eat, there's no motivation to even get out of bed every day. But we're hoping that we can make something that's a little muddy and make it way more clear for the industry on how you take someone, and we can show beginners that they are progressing to hopefully retain more than we did before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I relate beginners getting involved in because, have you ever seen an industry, meaning golf, where so many people do things incorrectly? and what I mean by that, as you mentioned, and you guys learned very quickly. And I'm not saying that you guys did it incorrectly, but you self-assessed and said, why is this not working the way that we thought it should? But what I mean by incorrectly is most beginners, who you said can't break 100, will go out, usually because they're working, so they have to go out on a weekend, and they'll sit out the driving range for an hour or more, and they'll hit balls. They'll hit bucket after bucket, and until their hands, they can't feel them. They're sore the next day. Hard to get out of bed. They start taking painkillers and all that stuff, and then they don't do anything for another week. When all the data over decades says that if you're a beginner, you practice shorter durations more often. So instead of an hour on Saturday afternoon, let's say you're going to dedicate yourself to Tuesday, Thursday, and after work for 20 minutes, and Saturday, let's say, for 20, or if you want to go 30 because you have extra time, then do it that way. But because the not only can the body, once the body tires out, and you obviously don't have the strength and endurance as a beginner as you would if you were a single digit handicap, you're just, nothing's getting, you're not filling that cup at all. It's just overflowing, and it's like you're wasting your time.
That's a great way to put it. And that's where, I think a better environment for these folks is, hey, why don't you come to an hour class where we're going to bob through 3 different skills in that class. We're going to do a little full swing, a little putting. You're going to learn a little something in the class. And then next week, we're going to do something a little bit different to keep it fun and engaging. But you're going to get those little, what people are signing up for when they join a program is for the coach to create that environment for them.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to put it on the calendar. Like, I always remind people that, you would think, you would think that, oh, no one's going to sign up for this or commit to coming for 8 weeks. And I said, well, to be honest with you, I totally disagree. And I hear a lot of golf pros tell me all the time, well, I have to run drop-ins because all my families don't commit. And I said, why? Because they're already committed to all the other sports programs in your area. Like, we have to start getting it on the calendar for these folks and get them to commit to actually, if we want to make them better. And just be honest with them that that's what it's going to take. You can't become a good golfer by dropping in when you here and there and not being fully committed to it. Like, if you want to lose weight, you sign up for a weight loss program and you join your CrossFit studio or whatever, because you want to be held accountable for coming every week, jump on the scale in the beginning and do your exercises, train with a community, and then hopefully you jump on the scale 8 weeks later and you've lost some weight. And so that's, we need to do the same thing for golf, right? We need to make it fun and encouraging and build community, and but we got to let them step on the scale, get out there and play golf, see what it's like, not be afraid of it. And then, that's the beauty in Op 36 is if someone plays 25 yards away and let's say they shoot a 50 for 9 holes. Well, in the technology, they're going to get a milestone for shooting a 50. And then they'll get another milestone for every time that pretty much they beat their stroke on the golf course. We count it as strokes lost. Like, you lose weight, but you lose strokes in Op 36. So, and then once you pass that division and you go on and you've progressed to another division, now you've got your baseline, and we're going to try to train every week to get you better so you can see progression through that division. And some people are really motivated by that. Other people just love going out and playing golf on the course and seeing, being around, you got the social people that just don't care a bit about setting a goal. They just want to be around others. and it accomplishes both of those goals with one environment, if that makes sense. So, but I'm right there with you that things, when the whole thing that we actually thought we were way ahead of the curve, and we had it all figured out in the first 3 years when we just had everyone coming once a week. We were learning, we were having fun, we were throwing footballs around, we had all the stuff going on with athlete development and golf development. We could see that they were getting better a little bit. Everyone was having fun until, half of them left, right? And that was probably the biggest turning point. Like Operation 36 wasn't born then, right? We didn't, we realized that to work with 80 golfers to watch half of them walk away in year 3, that we weren't doing a good job, right? If we did a great job, then we'd still be working with those 80 golfers because they absolutely love it, even if it's for 4 months a year or 2 months a year, but we're seeing them consistently every year. That's retaining golfers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, those 40 that walked away, they lacked purpose, they lacked direction, they didn't see where they were going. And there was no, you can only have as many, you can only have as many ice cream cones on the driving range to make it fun. At some point they have to become a golfer, which means they have to develop skills, and we can't shy away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a couple weeks ago, I had a Shihan Marinus hook. He's a 8th degree black belt. He's in the World Martial Art Hall of Fame. He's got like 5 other black belts. Trained with the Gracie family. A huge resume, and he's had a martial arts dojo for 30 years. And we were talking about the differences over that time frame of kids, and he said it's not just the kids. In fact, they're probably easier to work with in some respects. He said it's a lot of the parents that are very difficult with, like, how come Susie didn't get her promotion from white belt to yellow belt and all the other kids did, or how come Johnny failed his test? You need to pass him anyway just so he can feel better. How do you deal with that sort of stuff? What do they call them, the helicopter parents?
Yeah, no, it's about education, right? And that's the nicest thing is now that we've got, 1, years of experience, 2, 525 coaches providing feedback, and a network kind of all using a similar model to welcome and progress folks. We have ideas that pop up every day on better ways to deal with that. But it all starts with education on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan and I are actually in the middle of writing a book called How to Create a Golfer.
Nice.
And in this book, that's really the tool that we are working towards to get in the hands of our coaches, so they can get it in the hands of their parents, and bookmark a page in the book that says, look, this is how long it takes. We all need to be on the same page, and this is how this can negatively affect the environment. And we have a whole section on the back of the book that's dedicated just to juniors, right? Like, here's junior golf development, and this is what we've learned. And it's not going to be everything, but it's going to be, here's some basic principles as parents and coaches that we can follow within these guidelines that are going to help, because it just really helps. So, like, imagine having someone come up and, you say, look, you're at Division III, it normally takes like 25 attempts or 25, 9-hole events to get over Division III, and you've only done it 3 times. How is that going to make that person feel? Well, way better. And we're using data to actually showcase that and tell them that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now they just go out and enjoy playing. And it's up to the coaches to build these environments and to build the narrative around their environments to help shape that, right? But it's also, when you're sending people off in 9-hole events, it's hey, parents, by the way, on the back of the scorecard, those are the rules we need you to follow. And we have that built into the scorecard now, right? And so there's all these little things over time that we've learned to help deal with with parents. But it all starts with education, because these parents, they want what's best for their kid. They just think what's best for the kid. They hate seeing, it's really hard to see a parent see a kid deal with failure. So that's what's really hard about this, right? If you don't set goals, you'll never fail, right?
Right.
So there's one side of the equation that says, just let the kids make all the choices on their own and do whatever they want to do, and they'll never fail, and they'll always enjoy the learning environment, and that's where they'll come to learn. Then on the other side of the equation, we can be way too regimented, and we can say, hey, you're going to have a full-on testing day, and this is going to be the belt. You have to show me this, and this. I don't think that is a great environment either, to be honest with you. I think it's somewhere in the middle. You can capture a larger market of both the ones that are more goal driven and the ones that want that kind of autocracy to like do what they want to do and make their own decisions. And there's that in between, because like when people look at our program and they think, man, this is a performance driven program, we say, no, it depends on how the coach is delivering the narrative. Like in my academies and how we teach the coaches to talk about Operation 36 is, how do you talk about, like, yes, we are here to improve, but really you can build a better narrative around it for your players as a coach. And, every time before I sent my 30 golfers out to play on the golf course, I said, look, everybody, we just had the opportunity all week to train our skills in classes, and we had a lot of fun with our friends. Now we're going to go out and we're going to have fun playing the game of golf. And if any of you get a little bit too good today, I'm going to back you up next week. Right. And so just go out, have fun. It's you playing against the course, and encourage others and cheer for good shots, and then just enjoy playing the game. And at some point you will get better and you will progress when the time is right for you. And so now there's no pressure, right? Because I'm telling everybody, and I'm telling the parents, like, let them go out and have fun. I don't care what they shoot. They're playing the course that's scaled to their current skill level. If we keep it fun enough, guess what? As soon as they realize or they get over that first hump of shooting 36 from 25 yards away, they've got the bug because they see they're good at this sport. Their narrative coming into the sport is progression, not regression, right? It's, I just made progress in the game of golf. I can do this. And where if we don't have any bit of goal structure, and you can keep it fun for quite a long time, but as we've seen, at some point you need to build that into the narrative, right? We can only keep playing games and classes for so long. And it's similar to our curriculum as well. Like the curriculum, we allow students to test, and there's a little badge they can earn if they want to show, like for example, level 1 power is, we want to teach them, and we'll stop in the middle of class and we'll teach them that, we want to hit the ball first. And we kind of showcase, if you hit behind the ball, it doesn't go very far. If you hit the ball first, it goes quite a long way. Now at least they have that bit of cognitive knowledge in there that's what they want to do. And if one of the students wants to come and show the coach that, the coach says, hey, great job, you showed it to me, I'm going to mark it complete on your profile that you showed me this, sends the parent a push notification that they did it. There's a video in the app that reinforces it when they go home so they can watch the video if they want. And now they got a little badge on their bag tag, right? So that's where I don't think, I don't think it's a bad thing that we set some goal structure and we set a bit of a framework to them to work in. But I'm not penalizing a kid if they don't progress, right? I'm not penalizing a kid on the golf course. I'm not taking them away from their friends, because you can have multiple skill levels in one class, and there's a purpose on why we did that, right? Because they're still going to come every week. They're still going to play the games. They're still going to learn because you're still teaching. It's just maybe they don't care about earning a badge, and that's fine. Maybe they don't care about seeing progression on the golf course or playing the game right away, and that's fine too. So that's where it's important. Like, that's why we do our certification. That's why we train our coaches. That's why we have these network events where we talk about things like this. Cause I could give the program to someone who's not trained to run Operation 36, right? And they could drive it into the ground and create the worst experience possible for a player by focusing only on the goals and only on performance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Introducing the kids out on the golf course, I think, is a very important thing, because if you take a kid who spent the traditional way, let's say they work with a John Doe coach or Jane Doe coach at XYZ golf club, and they're on the range, and let's say they spend a couple months out there. The range meaning the putting green, the chipping green, the hitting balls, and the whole facet. Now you throw them out onto a golf course, and now there's wind, there's sand, there's water, there's trees, and it's like you built this kid up to a certain level of confidence, and now you've just thrown him into a new arena with a bunch of different variables that they're not sure how to handle. They might lose all that confidence that they had, and then if they don't have that desire to overcome that, you just lost another golfer.
Yep, 100%. And just think about the narrative you usually do. Let's go Let's go do a few lessons. You still have nowhere near developed the skills necessary to play a full length golf course, but to make it normal for you, we think we're going to put you on a full tee and let you play a full hole. And then they scrape it down about 10, 15 shots in. People pile up on them, behind them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I sound like a broken record when I say narrative all the time, but it really is a new narrative that needs to be done and a new model to follow to welcome people to the sport. And, you look at every other sport, kind of one of the first facets is you're going to play the game as soon as possible to understand what the game is. And that's what everyone wants to do. They just want to play the game, and we can say that, like, let's put them on a putting green and set up this really fun and engaging game. And that's all they're going to do for multiple times in a row. However, all those same facets, if you develop a good game on the driving range, is the game of golf is probably the best game you could introduce someone to playing. As you said, every shot, they have to make a decision on, they have a choice. It's variable. They go and they play these, I hit it into the bunker. Well, this is exciting. I get to go play it out of the bunker. What choices do I have to get it out of the bunker? I have these different clubs I can use. So it creates that perfect game environment that gives them the autonomy they need. It gives them the decision-making skills. It gives them ownership of their golf game. But we also need to not put them in throw them in the deep end first. We need to step them into the shallow end so they can see success from day one and have I always say a progression narrative, not a regression narrative, right? Unfortunately, if you start someone on the full tee box and it takes them 15 times to get it to the hole, and then you build in the narrative, well, here's what I'm going to do. Let's start you 25 yards away. What do you think that person's going to think now?
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh shit.
I'm not that good. I'm going backwards. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm regressing now,
Mm-hmm.
where if I would have just started them 25 yards from day one and told them this is how they progress, they're going to see progression narrative, right? And,
right.
And so it's all in that first day. That first day of the journey is so important. That's why I think the first day of every golfer's journey is they should download the Op36 app, go out there, find the 25-yard mark where it tells you to drop your ball, and play from there and keep your score and come back into the pro and say, now I'm ready for your coaching program. You see what I'm saying? And it doesn't, watch someone play and they're going to model and figure it out. You don't even have to teach them chipping or putting. Put them in a group of people that they get to watch and see how they do it, and they'll figure it out. And I think we overestimate that. I need to teach them perfect putting and perfect chipping before they go play golf. Completely wrong.
Right. And I think that might be why so many people, tour pros included, and the ones you don't hear of because they're not playing anymore, they get so enamored in playing swing and not golf.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yep. And we underestimate, I could show you right now, and I'm super confident in it. I could line up 30 beginners and I could show them a basic chip shot, tell them kind of how it goes in less than 2 minutes. Cause we did this with our UI UX designer. She's never played, and took her and in less than 5 minutes, showed her a basic chip shot. I showed her a basic putting stroke. And then we went out and we played 9 holes, and she shot a 53. And now she's got her baseline, right? Mm-hmm. Now she's played the game of golf. And the whole time she watched me play from a full tee box, and she watched 2 other people play from a full tee box. We never held up play. And now she's got this, now she's got her first round in, and now she's going, well, my goal next is to shoot a 52. I want to practice chipping and putting now. I want to get a little bit better. I'm open to learning because now there's purpose to this, right? Very similar. Like if you put someone, you would never enroll your kid in a swim program if they never got in the pool, right? Like, could you imagine sending someone and you give them the towel and they walk out of the car and they go into the pool, and you sit in the parking lot, and an hour later they come back and they're completely dry and they're like, didn't need the towel, mom. Could you imagine what you would go in and talk to the people, right? And no, we did a bunch of strokes on the side of the deck. We're just getting them ready. And then in golf, if you want to attribute to 5 lessons, and then we're going to get you to play a full golf hole from a full tee box, it'd be like, we're going to do all these practice things on the side of the deck, and then instead of walking into the shallow end, I'm going to throw you into the deep end, right? Like that's that's the narrative or the way that I look at how we have traditionally brought people into the game.
And it develops them. You know, if you look at, or if you watch any professional golf on TV, like the Women's Open was this week, you watch any PGA Tour event, or pick your level, Corn Ferry, wherever,
Yep.
and the players are always talking about how they're working with the sports psychologist or their team on setting a goal, having their mindset right that morning. Like, okay, here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to focus on each shot, or I'm going to remain positive. I'm going to do you can fill in the blank. But
Yep.
you guys are implementing that from an early stage in the development of any golfer, so that, you know, with the hopes that they retain that and that they don't get off on the tangent of getting overly mechanical. But
Yep.
I just think that's great, because you hear the best in the world say, hey, here's what I'm doing. They're going to tweak their swing and have the swing coaches on the range all the time that adjust their grip or top of the swing impact, what have you. But obviously the mental side at every single level is equal to, if not more important than the other.
Yep. Yep. 100%. And just playing the game and learning how to deal with that. And we just launched a partner course. We have a free coach academy that anyone can get access to. And we teach them exactly how Operation 36 is set up. Any golf pro that wants to learn, because we believe so wholeheartedly that this should be a program to introduce people to the game at every facility, whether they're going to join formally and use the program and all the technology and tools, or just we want to get the word out about how we need to change this to start retaining golfers. And part of that Coach Academy, which is just like an online video training center, we just launched a partner course with Vision 54 PN Lynn. Are you familiar with Vision 54?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, their stuff is amazing. And, you think about it, a lot of people are using it like at the higher levels to get people to play better. Yet, if we can institute all of the stuff that P and Lynn teach, those intangibles of how to deal with your emotions on the course and how to focus your effort, and how to, just those, I would call them like the soft skills that no one talks about because they can't see them and they can't say, hey, look, you're more on plane. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't see it and you can't measure it. The way you measure it is score. And the way you measure it is in strike, and the way you measure it is in how you feel and how you approach things, which is, I think they've taken something intangible and are making it more tangible for us to grasp and also get players better faster. And they won't get better faster if they don't play the game of golf, though. Like, it's like at the end of the day, we need to stop avoiding getting people to play golf. And in pre-COVID, right? Then, if I went to any golf facility down, anywhere, very few would say we do not want more people playing the game of golf out here. You get post-COVID now, you got some golf pros that are like, we have got rounds through the roof, which I think is fantastic. We'll see if that sustains, but that's what we need. Like, at the end of the day, when people say, how do you grow the game? The best measurement in growth of game is rounds of golf and total golfer participants, right? Like, we can either get existing golfers to play more rounds of golf, or we can create new golfers that play the game as well, and we can grow the supply. And we can see over the last 5 years, our supply has only grown by 200,000, yet we introduced it to 12 million people. So, where's the disconnect there? And for the folks that go, there's too many rounds, I've heard, like, literally, this is a bad thing for the game. It's like, if every tee time was packed on every course, chances are we would start opening up golf courses again to fulfill that demand, which would be amazing, So why is that a negative thing? Like, this is a fantastic thing. We should be trying to pack courses, right? Like, and I can see, there's probably some trade-off with, how the course conditions and things of that nature, but I could argue that the golf course is making more money. So could it, while it's making a bit more profit, could it reinvest that back into to solve those issues, right? Could it reinvest it in putting someone out there to patrol pace of play to make sure things are good, or putting two people out there instead of going on defensive strategy and going, oh, we're going to block off some times to do this and we're going to keep this down. We're not going to allow people, or we're going to make our tee times longer. It's like, think about the offensive strategy where you can keep everyone happy, grow your business and grow the game at the same time. So that would be, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see if that, if this cascades into 2021, because I just don't see, with the numbers that the NGF are showing, and how many of these golfers we're actually going to retain. But we have one heck of an opportunity right now, that's for sure.
It was when I was growing up. There was one of the golf courses that we would go to. They had the big course on one side, and they had the par three course on the other. And I, of course, started on the par three. My dad would take me up there in the evenings, and then as I progressed, it was I said, "When do I get to play the big course?" And he said, "When you can shoot 36 on the par three."
Get
And
out of here.
it was looking back, I don't know if I could go to that course now and shoot 36. I mean, all the greens were probably, I don't know, 15-foot diameter circles, and all had subtle mounds,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
you weren't at that age. If I remember, the first hole was 160 yards, and you could barely see the green. You could see the flag. So, I mean, how many pros are going to hit it in that little target from 165 yards all the time? And when you're a kid, you basically have no short game. But then it went, I think, if I remember right, because we played there so much, it went, the second hole was 95, the third hole was 98, and they got just progressively longer. But the last two holes were 198 and 215 yards, and you couldn't even see the green. So going there now and trying to break 36 might not be feasible, but I think I got close. I think I got to 40. And he said, "Okay, let's go on the big course." I think more because he wanted someone to play with over there.
Totally. But,
But
if you think about why wouldn't, he was smart enough to know, there's no way I could take him and play a course in a reasonable amount of time that would be motivating for him if I started him on the full golf course here, right? Like that. Why would I? If you have a par three facility, that's the way to get started, right? We all know that it is, and we keep talking about we need to build more of those, where in reality, every golf course has a par three in it, and that's the interesting thing is maybe we don't need to go spend lots of money. Maybe, the way we look at it is, part of our product is it shows you where to go and tee off from, right? Without building a bunch of different tee boxes or anything like that, you can use the technology to go find your tee box, which is kind of interesting, right? And so there's ways around finding that scaled course, but it's super important. It's all based on what he said was we're going to scale the course to your skill level, right? And once your skill level you get a little bit too good, we're going to let you play a little larger course. It's not he didn't say how far you hit the golf ball, right? He said, when you get a little too good or you can shoot this score, I know that you can play in a reasonable amount of time, and we're going to go play a larger course. And that's the whole narrative that we believe, people need a common model to lean on to make that more believable, right? It wasn't just my dad saying it. It was all these people that are doing it. And that's really what we're about at Op 36, is just creating awareness of this common model where we think they're, a scramble, for example, format. Everyone knows what that is. Or they call it captain's choice, or you say individual stroke play. And we believe in 3 or 4 years, it'll be, I'm going to go out and do the Op 36 model. And that's really what we're about, is trying to figure out a way and make it, create awareness that this is a way that other people around the world, over 50,000 participants now, are doing to become golfers and to come into the game. And it's just super exciting for us.
I remember going to another course. It wasn't quite an executive course. I think it was 9 holes, and most of the par fours and you got to remember, this is going back to the mid 80s, early 80s. The holes were 350, 360, in that range. And I was still a relatively new beginner, maybe the first or second year I was playing, and was overwhelmed. So it made it much easier to listen to him after failing so badly. When I did go out and say, well, I played for X amount of months or a year, I can go on this course. No. It was really like, wow, the flag is 300 some yards away now, not 150. It's over double. So the nervousness, basically everything that you develop is thrown out the window.
And so you said what you're saying is you still felt a bit of overwhelm, a bit of,
Not
oh
even
my
a bit. I felt
goodness.
a lot. I mean, it completely threw
Yep.
me off. I couldn't pay attention to my.
How many rounds did you think you played at the par three prior to playing at the other?
Oh, I would say I played at least probably. I'm gonna guess that's 40, almost 40 years. That's probably 20 rounds,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 40. But it
Yep.
had come nowhere near to shooting 40. I mean, if I got 50, it started where I was at 60. If I could get down to, if I was at 50, I was pretty good at that point.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but then to go
And
to a course where every hole is just for me as a kid, as a 9 or 10 year old kid, 11 I might have been, um, to have every hole just overwhelm you was way too much.
oh my gosh, yeah. And I think that's where a lot of folks, for the last 10 years, we have tried our best to put ourselves in the beginner golfer's shoes and think about how can we design a better experience around this. And what you're saying is what no one really talks about is how long it took you and how many rounds it took you to get comfortable enough to play a full tee box at a competent level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to feel okay about that. And what we're finding, and this is the average. I don't know if you saw this, but we released it in that black hole article. We took the data, and I believe it was around 20,000 golfers. The data of 20,000 golfers, and what we said is like, show me all the golfers that could not break 36 from 25 yards away. Okay. And so we classified that person. If you didn't shoot 36 from 25 yards away, you probably had not played golf before. You would be considered a beginner. Would you agree?
Yes.
So we take that and we say, well, how many times did they have to play golf to one break even or break 36 from 25 yards away? Okay, perfect. Now show me how many times from Division two it took, and now show me how many times from Division three it took, and how many times from Division four. And when you start to go in between a Division four, Division five, which is around 150, playing 150 yards away and 200 yards away, you start to blend into around a 26 handicap from a full tee box, right? You can probably play the most forward course at like a 2,500 yard track and shoot around a 50. And what the data is showing us is it takes about 55 9-hole rounds, if we look at it just as a pure action base or repetition base, to get to develop the skill levels to be able to do that. And there are times and times again where we're seeing way more than that, right? Like, and that's completely normal. And that's what we're trying to get people to understand is like, if you want to play competently at a full tee, it takes a while. Look at it as a lifelong journey. Look at it as I'm going to play golf every other week, and I'm going to do a little training once a week, for a specific amount of time per year. And those reps are going to slowly progress me over time. But what people forget is they always forget where they started. And that's what we've done a fairly good job of, is reminding people of how much they progressed, because we don't forget where they started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think there's a lot of people, when we released that, sent us messages, said, I can't believe it's over 55 9-hole rounds to get someone to be able to break 50 from a full tee, but I don't believe you. And I say, well, go work with 30 players and do it and see, and you'll start to realize that it takes this much time, and yeah, there's some that are a little bit faster, and that's why I believe so much, in multi-sport athletes when it comes to juniors and long-term athlete development, because the more athletic you are, the easier it is, for sure. And it's much easier for a junior because they have the time to put into this, right? They're still developing brain cells and motor pattern. They still have they're a little bit more responsive and receptive to developing a motor pattern, because that's still happening. So adults have a little bit more of an uphill climb, but yeah, that's what we're seeing. And so, like, when you just said that story, it just resonated with me instantly, because that's normal, and that's very, very normal, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I can't remember who it was. If it was Charles Poliquin or Al Vermeil, Dr. Greg Half. I don't remember who I listened to or read their book. but where you have, as far as training, and this, as it was, those guys were relating it to weightlifting, because obviously that they train a lot of Olympians and world champions and people at that level. But they said, as far as training kids, you have chronological age, you have body development age, and then you have that sport specific age. And which one do you utilize? Mostly use what's their sport training age. So what I'm getting at is almost all of them were in agreement, as I read the material, that said you're basically a beginner until you've done it for 5 years. You don't even get to intermediate level until you have put in 5 years of training at that, whatever that is. So to your point, if it's 55 9-hole rounds, and
10 rounds a year.
Yeah, 10 rounds. Yeah, that's 4.5 years.
Yep.
And if you look at most martial arts schools, black belt takes 5 years at least to get. And in talking to like Chi Han Hook and some other guys I know, basically a black belt's just a reason for the higher ranks to start really beating on you. They're not going to take it easy anymore, which is when you really start learning how to perform, which I would say in golf. Now once you have a student, whether it's a kid or an adult, and they're a beginner and they progress their 4.5 years, and now they can shoot a respectable score from 2,500 yards from the most forward tees, and now they're going to go, okay, they graduated, and now they're going to go play with the men's group or ladies group or so-called normal golfers. Okay, now they're going back to the tees that everybody's playing from. And now it's like, oh, geez, I got to go through this learning curve again. But that seems to be very consistent, that 4 to 5 to 6 year development time to become proficient enough to get into the, let's call it the mainstream of that activity.
I like that. I really like how that was stated. And, what I would follow up to that, just a point of view there would be, why are we telling people they can drop in to learn golf?
Mm-hmm.
If we know that it takes 55 9-hole rounds to make them competent, that they're going to stay in golf for life and become where they would play it normally. And that's where I think we need to, that's what we're passionate about, is showing folks that developmental programming is the future. And we used to think developmental programs need to be in place for the better player. It needs to be in place first for the beginner. It's more important for the beginner than it is, I don't think our goal needs to be to create the best athletes in the world that go on and win Olympic medals. Like our goal needs to be to grow the sport, and to grow the sport, we need to create competent golfers that are going to play and pay for a round of golf and grow a golf facility and grow the industry. Right. Mm-hmm. And we need to let beginners know, but also, like, at the end of the day, there's beginners looking for programming, right? They want to get better, and they want to learn to play. And when they get that bug, what kills us is we know there's a lot of golf facilities out there that don't, if you go to a gymnastics gym, they have a complete plan for you. If you go to a dance studio, complete plan, karate studio, complete plan. And they're self-funded by people coaching to develop gymnasts and to develop dancers and to develop, jiu-jitsu specialists. And so we as golf facilities, we've got 15,000 golf facilities, yet we don't have any. Someone calls and says, hey, what's your program? And they say, well, we have a dropping camp this summer. That's not going to create a golfer. It's like, it's a fun thing. And yeah, it's great for the pro to get, 50 kids to come and have a bunch of fun and camp, because camp is just a different experience, but it's not the environment that's going to create golfers that are going to play the sport for life. And that's, right. And that's kind of the mission we're after, is to just get people fired up about that. Like, and all it takes is, 12 students at one golf facility to use a program like this. And then all of a sudden you're going to 24 students, because you're going to see that that's what actually the market wants. They want, they don't want to tell someone to kind of just show them or tell them it and then expect them to go home and jump on the treadmill and do all the stuff on their own. They want to join a program that's going to make sure it gets done and that they do it and they enjoy it. And has leadership and they develop friends and all of the other things that are great about golf. But yeah, I can go on and on about that. But
while we're on it, let's, because if there's some parents listening who have heard of you guys and they've heard the podcast, hopefully, and they're tuning in, they really wanted to dive in and say, okay, I get that my kid has to get out on the course and not just sit there and beat balls in a range. So go through, because you guys have a graduated process. So start with, if you wouldn't mind, just explaining the level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to your top level. So that if somebody's listening, they can hear it now, and then they can get on the website later, because you guys have a great website with all the information. I highly recommend everyone go to that. It's operation36.golf. But if you could just speak to the varying levels that you have and where you start kids and beginners, and then as they graduate.
Yeah, so it's kind of in two chunks, right? Like I would say we already covered kind of the model that we use to progress people through the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
The model is an on-course model. And then within that model, there's also a layer when we would layer in, like, what is the age of the athlete, the chronological age. And based off of those two things, we can provide the parent with a fairly good roadmap to how they should be working with their player, how the coach should be working with their player, and developing. But if you're a parent looking for a program for your junior, I just always come back to, they're not going to progress in skill development in the model if they don't play, if they don't train their skills, and they don't learn. Those are the three things that need to happen. So in a standard Op36 program, there's going to be a weekly class where you're training with a group of other students. If it's a juniors, we do 7 to 10. And then we do overlapping ages 10 to 13, 13 to 18. And it doesn't matter your skill level necessarily in those classes. However, we want you to be training in a group in a fun environment. They're going to play what would look like on the surface games for 90% of the class. But we do have a curriculum where they're going to learn about 10 minutes every class. We're going to teach a skill. And so that's the learning component in Op36 is we kind of blend together training and learning. Learning is not the most important, because just by training and just by playing, your junior is going to get better. They're going to learn. But we did want to, like, for those that really love to dive into learning, we do want to make sure that they're cognitively walking away, understanding, if this is what an open club face looks like, and that the ball will go this way and the ball will go this way. And it helps them become better problem solvers when they play the game, which makes them take ownership of their game. Right. So the basic progression that we would use, you come to a weekly class. In that class, you will progress through a 6-level curriculum. There's 12 skills. 7 of them are technical skills. There's a couple performance, one work ethic and performance, and then there's kind of the knowledge and education component, where it's kind of some self-learning and some resources for them that they're going to learn it in the class. But and then if they want to actually progress through the curriculum, which is okay if they do and it's okay if they don't, they can actually go up to the coach and show them that they know what they're talking about before or after class, and the coach will mark it complete on their profile. And after they earn all 12 skills, they'll rank up and they'll get another set of 12 more skills. And each skill has a video in the app so that they can watch it outside of class, and they will know, because the coach will say, hey, we're covering the putting objective today. They can watch the putting objective in the app. Like level one in the curriculum is aim, roll, and stop. So we teach everyone, they got to aim the putter. Our job is to roll the ball, and our job is to stop the ball near the hole. And we do that with different stroke lengths. So they're going to learn all of that through the video. If they show the coach that, the coach marks it complete. And again, they get a little badge on the back of a bag tag. The coach marks it complete in the app. And then after they earn all 12, they'll unlock 12 more videos. And they do that for 6 levels. Okay. So that's the learning component of Operation 36, as well as a little bit of the training component, because they're going to train 90% of the class as you're just training skills with fun games. And then on the other side of this model, right, they have to play golf. And this is probably the biggest component that most programs shy away from, is providing the complete environment. And it may seem normal to you because that's how traditional golf programs are. Drop into a camp, come to a clinic. But we're not going to actually provide the playing environment for you to get out there and play the game. But in our program, they do. And in most Op36 programs, if they have the resources to do so, they're going to provide a 9-hole event that you can show up to and play in and caddy for your junior and be a part of that experience out on the golf course. And they're just going to go out and they're going to play a course scaled to their skill and have fun testing their skills and learning and falling in love with playing the game first. And then what the coaches do is the coaches log the scores, not to showcase a winner or a loser, right? Because everyone's out there competing against the golf course, not each other. But those scores are logged on the profile for the coach, as well as the parent, to be on the same page where the skill level of the junior is for the lifetime of the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's technology that the parent can log in. One, they can see the curriculum, they can watch the videos. When they play and practice outside of class, they actually have tools to guide them when they do that. And when they log it, that data comes back to the coach and is stored on their profile. And then the coach can actually print reports at the end of the year to show the progress over time, right? And so this is a long-term program. So the goal is, even if your junior came out for 2 months and then didn't play golf for a year and then came out for another 2-month program, every year you're going to be able to see development by just progressing and seeing that on their profile over time, which is really fun. It's really cool to see, where someone started and where they went to. But you will see that the environments that we built do progress golfers, right? They do create golfers that get better and feel competent. And you'd be surprised, like after someone goes and plays from about 25 yards and they get back to about 50 yards, if they get to 100 yards, they have the swagger of a golfer and know how to play the game of golf. I mean, it is really, really cool to watch. Like when you watch someone come in and they're completely green and they shoot a 50 from 25 yards, mm-hmm. and they have worked their way back to the 100 yards, just watching them walk down the fairway, to set their bag next to the ball, to pull the club out of the bag. You can't learn that stuff and you can't learn that spacing in between shots without playing the game of golf, right? And that's I always tell families and parents, if you have the opportunity to play or to hit balls on a range, go play. You're going to get, I call it like a 10x return on your investment, because as that there is a lot of block practice we want to build in, but when you build in that random environment that maybe is not as enjoyable, you actually retain skills longer, right? And you retain them faster. So playing golf to me is the best environment you could put somebody in. And if you ask me, Matt, what if my kid could only play or only train, train on a driving range or on a practice putting green, and my job was to turn them into a skilled golfer, and I could only do one of those, I would say play all day long. Mm-hmm. I would just put them on the golf course and play all day long. And I think we would all do that, right? So it just some thoughts and food for thought on how the program would work for a kid.
Well, yeah, to that point, I don't think that driving ranges really got going until, I'm going to date myself, but I didn't really see many of them until the 80s. If you go back, because the courses I grew up playing, the driving range was there. Some of the people might have went there to warm up with one small basket, but that was it. You never saw people out there in the afternoon beating ball after ball after ball. And the driving range was basically a field with 100, 150, 200, every 50 yards there was a target, or it just noted the distance, and that was it. There was no greens. And maybe with the advent of housing developments with golf courses and then selling points, they make these extravagant ranges. Now all these people are out there at the range. But to your point, it's not equating into better golf or a better experience.
No, it's I mean, I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, I always wondered what would happen if we didn't have driving ranges and practice putting greens. How would golf be taught?
Right. Yeah. I don't want to denounce range. Yeah. There was always a pro out there giving a lesson, right? And there was always a putting green. But I think if you go back before that, 50s, 60s, 40s, 30s, all that, and even like you take Augusta National, I think the driving range used to be that area that's in between the first tee, the 18th green, and then there's that big open area that was there. Yep. I think that used to be the driving range. Compare that till, then the range that was on the other side of the clubhouse, and now the new range. But the golfers went to the course. They didn't go to a range.
Yep.
and it was put it into play. See what you have. Let it you like I my dad, of course, he's maybe my worst student because he doesn't want to listen to his son sometimes. But I always tell him, I said, well, swing how you think it should be done because you might do the right thing. I'm not going to give you everything up front that I think you need because I might screw something up that you have naturally.
Yep.
Right? Could you imagine if Matt Wolf would have went to anybody except George Gankis?
Oh yeah.
Might not ever heard of him. You know,
Yep.
let somebody develop, which is what you guys are doing. You're doing a phenomenal job at. And then if they need some guidance or some redirection, okay, we can provide that too. But then get you back on track and you continue on your development.
Exactly. And I think, to build on that or to make sure this message hits home, like our job is to build the environment for these folks. They're paying for the environment you're building. The instruction is such a small part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, watching my daughter in gymnastics and going over there, they have the coaches that guide them while they're in there so the kids have fun. And little by little, they layer in technical stuff, right? They make it fun. And they're teaching them all the while, and the kids are really enjoying it. I'm paying for that environment. It's awesome that they layer in the education too, and they know what they're talking about and they have a plan. But the only reason they have a plan is because they have a curriculum and they know kind of the objectives that we want to, come out of level 1 with. It's not to say that someone's not going to fully grasp an objective or a technical skill, because they're not. I mean, how many times have you worked with someone with their grip and they come back a month later and you got to work on their grip again? It's not going to stay the same. It's not this, hey, I've accomplished this, I'm done with it. No, it's making them aware. So when you have a conversation with them and go, man, your left-hand grip is really strong, they know exactly what that means, and they know the implications of what a strong grip can do, or, top of your swing, I can see your entire club face. It's a pretty shut face. Where's the ball going to go? And they go, oh gosh, that thing's going to go left. And then they take ownership of how to make the change. Right. But that's where our job is to build the environment, and the instruction will come. But I think the hardest lesson that hit Ryan and I, it doesn't matter how much we instruct someone if we don't build the environment where they can take complete action to becoming a golfer. We would have not have lost those 40 golfers had we created the complete environment. And it's one of those things that just haunts us a little bit, right? We wouldn't be here today. I would not be talking with you right now, and Operation 36 wouldn't be here if we didn't lose those 40 golfers. Like that's the reason that I'm so passionate to jump on and appreciate you having me come on and share our story, because we forget that we need to be building environments, complete environments for beginners, because existing golfers can attend drop-in clinics. They can attend private lessons because they're going to go play golf at the end of the day. Beginners are not going to go book their own tee time. You need to build that into your program. You need it needs to be a part of the experience, right? And I keep coming back to team sports for kids, because people would think it's crazy if, you put your kid in baseball and they never played in a game. And the same thing with soccer or any recreational sport. But for whatever reason, it is just, and I think the reason being is we have not had a model that allows us to get beginners on the course in a motivating and timely way, as simple as that sounds. But that's really the core of what Operation 36 solved. And I know it sounds very simple on the surface, but we are probably the first in the industry to quantify the skill level of a beginner where that could never be quantified before, right? We know where someone is in their development in that muddy. We are the before handicap, right? Like that's the best way to look at us. We're clarifying the development before you can get a USGA handicap. And hopefully some folks can, even if you're a parent listening, it's just a quick conversation about, hey, this is kind of the goal that we're going to do. And you take them out and you play 9 holes from there. And, you shouldn't be setting goals and talking about performance or doing any of that until around the ages of 7 or 8. Like our program is geared for 7 and up. And then you just let them know, like, if you've ever been scared to take your kid on the golf course, just give them that challenge, and you can let them hit a full tee shot from the full tee box. And then you should not be having them keep score from a full tee box, though. Have them pick up their ball, drop it from their division where they can't shoot 36, write down their score from there and be proud of that score. And then they're going to see progression, not regression. Right. And so that's yeah, that I just am so bullish on we need to create better environments. So
The whole thing that you mentioned on your story is, and I ask everybody this because in today's society, we seem to be so disposable that if somebody's not performing, then the entity, the business says, okay, you got to go, which is
yep.
understandable at some level, but it doesn't seem like they try to find out what that person or group needs, provide it for them, and then they'll it shows some leadership that you're taking an active interest in the people who are trying to help that business grow, either
Mm-hmm.
at the top 50 Fortune 50 corporate level or down at a family run shop. But and I think that we as a society have lost the idea that failure is a good thing. And you just illustrated that, or you spoke to that you guys, if you wouldn't have failed in the beginning, you would never have built what you do now. I've had other guys, Dr. Brett McCabe was on. He always, it's one of the best learning tools that we have. And
Yep.
we fail a lot in life and in sport and in business and everything. But how else are you going to be taught what to do? Randy Sohm was a Fortune 50 CEO. I had him on early in the launch of this, and he said it's not only not only need it, but it's necessary. So thank you for saying that, and because I think a lot of people think, especially as we talked about in the beginning, parents get very passionate about their kids, and if the kid's not advancing, if they're messing up, then they think there's a problem. It's like, well, you got to let the kid grow, you know.
There's a lot of that, and if you're a parent listening and watching your kid fail, I can show you graph after graph of what it looks like to become a golfer. And if you want to, go ahead and go online and plot any PGA Tour player and all their scores from last year on a graph to watch the highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
They don't show you every score, but it looks like a squiggly line. It's you're going to shoot and if I just break it down to 9 holes, you're going to shoot a 50, and then you're going to shoot a 48, and then you're going to shoot a 55, and then this is normal. And that's what we're trying to show people, that this is normal, because when you have that to lean on, and that's really our job as coaches is to be the leader, right? To say, guys, this is normal. You're okay. We're going to get through this, right? And that's what the job as parents are too. Parents actually have a really simple job at the end of the day.
Be a cheerleader.
It's it. That's the only thing. They have nothing to worry about. Yes, you are going to, unfortunately, have to watch your kid shoot a 60 when they shot a 50 the last time. And you are going to have to pick them up, tell them it's okay, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to solve the problem, right? They're going to solve the problem on their own. And if you start trying to solve the problem, you took ownership of the problem, and they are not going to like that, because now it's not their choice. They don't have autonomy of their golf game. The process will, and this is the type of stuff that's going to be in the book we're writing, because this is the stuff that parents need to hear, that it is actually very incredibly easy to be. It's hard, yet the actions that you need to do are super easy to be a good sport parent, not even a golf parent, just a sport parent in general. Is you literally just have to be a cheerleader, and you have to listen, and you have to say things like, it looks like you're a little upset today, and let the kid talk. It's those things that you don't learn until you're going to have to learn. It's the best parents we ever saw, and Ryan always jokes about this, is it was a Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day weekend, and we had a 9-hole event, and usually all the dads caddy for the kids. And this is when we were kind of first getting going. And all the moms come out and caddy we wanted to get a big picture and thank our moms, and we got them all flowers and all this stuff. And we had 15 out of the 30 kids who have been in the same division pass the division that day. Okay. and Ryan and I look at each other and go, what is going on? And if you watched how the moms caddied versus how the dads caddied out there, right? And this is us still early in our development of not having the education to say a lot of things and have a platform to stand on with these parents, to show them how to interact. But all the mom did was hold the bag, encourage them, tell them it's okay if they hit a bad shot, and give them the club that they want. That was it, because a lot of the moms have never played golf before, and they didn't know how to play golf. but they did the best job, if not 100% better than any of the existing golfer dads that are lining up their kids and pretty much taking ownership of their entire game while they're out playing the game of golf, right? So I just thought that would be a fun story to share, because if you're a parent who feels like you need to be involved, I just had to, and I'm going through this myself. Trust me, it's easy, but it's hard, because I just went to the driving range with my daughter. I was telling Pete about this before the call. She's 4 years old. I completely understand that I do not want to take ownership, or especially as a 4-year-old. They just need good narratives, and they need to tell you what kind of they're going to do. And you have to put a basic framework in place. So my basic framework was, how many balls do you want to hit? And do you mind if I rotate with you? Can we share? And we stayed at the same station, and she loved that idea. And I let her make the decision. How many balls? I just want to hit one. You're up, Dad. Okay. I go and hit my shot every single time. And then little by little, she started going, I want to hit 3 shots. I want to hit 4 shots. And I never, she's got a split grip, and, she's picking it straight up in the air. But she's turning around and watching this girl behind her who plays at a local college, rip a driver, right? And she'd watch her hit the driver, and she'd go back and she'd try to do what she did. And I never gave her instruction. And to be honest with you, it's really hard not to, right? Like, gosh, I see what's going on. I'd love to get her hands together. But as soon as I do that, especially with a 4-year-old, the younger they are, the harder it is to make a change with a junior, because they need to own that. And what you said earlier was, they need to have an environment where they're kind of open to learning and open to listening. And that's not going to happen until a little bit later in life, and that's okay. But they also need to be put in an environment where they fail a little bit to go, gosh, I need some help. And they're open to learning, and they'll listen to anything you have to say. But if you give them, if you're taking, little by little, you're telling them what to do and what they're doing wrong, and and they're not even asking for it.
You ruin their curiosity.
You ruin it all. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. You ruin all I just always think, we never, like, even in running Operation 36 and growing our company, we have like 6 advisors, right? And, I come to them and I go, I do not know, this is what we're faced with this week, and I don't know how to deal with it. And I am so open to hearing anything they have to say, right? But if I have to hear an advisor tell me what to do, but I never even asked for their opinion on it, I'm never going to, I'm not open to learning. I try to be open-minded, but I'm way more open after something really bad has happened. And then you got to know your role as a parent is just to be an encourager. And my favorite thing that I would tell a parent to do is, if they ask anything about their golf swing, picture yourself as a car mechanic, and or as your coach is a car mechanic, and your son or daughter is the car, right? And you would never, let's say you blow the engine, you wouldn't try fixing this, would you? You would say, I don't know, we need to ask the mechanic. And so that's probably a really good thing to think about when your son or daughter maybe isn't hitting the ball very well, or they're getting frustrated, and you go, you know what, let's set up a lesson with your coach. I don't know what to tell you. I can give you maybe a little insight, but that's your coach whose job that is. And then your junior will start to understand the roles of the team you've built around them. Hello, I'm your encourager. I'm your parent. When I get home, I'm going to tell you what to do in some cases when you get home, and when to go to bed. I'm going to encourage you when I'm on the golf course. I'm going to drive you to the golf course. I'm going to pay for you to be in this program because I'm going to support you. That's my role, right? You want to talk golf swing? You're not hitting it really well? Well, that's what your golf coach is for. Let's go to your golf coach. And now you start to clearly build that role structure around this player. That's another really important piece of becoming a better golfer, because you rarely ever see in soccer, right, a parent out there trying to teach their kid how to kick it better, right? But God, in golf, we just want to get in there and tinker, and it's hard to watch someone top 3 balls in a row, isn't it?
And the worst thing is, the parent is probably at somewhere around a 24 handicap. They have no idea. They're just going to teach the kid what they were taught, and that's like saying, here, take this medicine. The doctor gave it to me, and you have a cough, so you might need this too.
Oh my goodness!
Not even understand the havoc they're going to wreak.
Yep. And they really could. And the worst part is, you could get one swing where they hit it better, and then,
Oh, that's the worst thing that
uh,
could possibly happen.
because there's a lot of ways you can do it. That's the hardest thing about the golf swing, and the mechanics. But you just, at the end of the day, and I've seen this over and over again, and I haven't done we've talked with a bunch of folks on it, but I haven't done the research to see, you know, I can put a basic idea or theory to why it is. But the earlier you start the kid, obviously the better their motor pattern is going to be, the better their golf swing is going to be, because they just intuitively get them fit clubs that are light enough for them to swing, and they intuitively, little by little, it's not going to look right off the bat, but by the time they hit the age, if you can start them at the age of 3 or 2 or whenever, and just get a club in their hand, that's so important, because you just pays dividends in the end. Like Piper and I, my 4-year-old, we're on, like, man, if I can get her to one, I'll go hit balls in the side yard once a week or twice a week, and hoping that she'll come over and want to hit some. And the other day she just walked out of the house with her golf bag on her back, and it made me the happiest guy in the world. So, but and she came over and she only hit 3 balls and she was done with it. And then we started playing a catching game with the golf balls, and I just had to be okay with that. So as I said, it's actually really easy as a golf parent, but it's really hard at the same time. Like, the actions you have to take, you don't have to learn much, is what I'm saying. It's just controlling your emotions as a parent to go, okay, I want her to take full ownership of this. So she's intrinsically motivated to want to come out and do this, and it's not my decision, right? Even though we all know that we want them to play good and we want them to come out, right? It's the hardest thing in the world, because you have to be so patient as a parent.
Well, don't feel bad. I mean, I had Krista Dunton on, who's a top 100 coach, teacher, and Susie Whaley was on, and Susie's daughter was she was on earlier this year, and her daughter, I think, or was it last year? I can't remember. But anyway, her daughter was playing at North Carolina and was going to be turning pro. And we discussed that as, like, Susie's obviously a very accomplished player. And she said one of the hardest things to do or learn herself was to, after her daughter, let's say, was in a final group in a junior tournament and didn't play well, and she's in the back seat. And Susie said, instead of asking her, how did you 3-putt the 11th hole, which was probably the worst thing you could possibly ever do, because the kid's already mad enough that they did it.
Right.
She said, I had to basically become a cheerleader, and, hey, don't worry, you'll do better next time, and give her the pep talk, and then, hey, you want to go get some ice cream, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And not that's the difference between somebody whose child is at a elite junior academy and or at a Division I school and getting ready to play professional. And then Krista's kids are still, I think her kids are still around 10, 12-ish, right in there. Yeah. And Krista's still finding it extremely difficult, the coach in her, to not say, hey, what if we did this and fixed it? So she's still trying to fix, and she's working on becoming better at being the cheerleader and letting the coaches deal with that aspect, or her kids themselves do the problem solving, like you mentioned earlier.
100%. And I think, even though, like, similar, like my game plan going into this is to get her in the hands of another coach,
mm-hmm.
or a better coach than than what I am, even, and I just think, like, just down the road from us, we have a Op 36 program location, and someone who's going to be running a future 36ers or a 3 to 6 year old program with Birdie Basics. And I can't wait to get her in that program with someone else other than me, because, again, unfortunately, my role is I'm the parent role, and I understand what that role needs to be. And if I can get her to another coach to say, I don't know, let's ask your coach. She obviously knows she could ask me too, hopefully someday. But if I don't overstep, I'm predicting, I don't know, we'll see how this plays out. But if I don't overstep my boundaries now, then, and she starts asking me questions, that's what I'm hoping for, right? Like, because we can have those open conversation relationship, but it doesn't happen by me being that person or role in her life yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I can support what another coach is saying, and just support that and go, let's get back to your coach and let's make sure, But it is interesting. It is hard as when you see something and you go, but also just I've seen hundreds, if not thousands of kids now go through. I mean, before doing Operation 36 full time, I watched, started 6 golf programs at 6 different facilities and have seen over 1,000 kids and have worked with and developed a bunch and watched them go from 25 yards away to being able to go to a full tee box. Like, I've seen it all. And I've seen, you become more confident in going, we're on a good, you're fine. Not like, I know there's some kids that made their way all the way back to 100 yards, and I may have talked to them about their grip one time, but all I did was build the environment and they got better. It's amazing how that works. They just have to get the repetitions in, and they have to fall in love with golf. And that's the priority one is motivation, intrinsic motivation to want to come out and play. And you don't know what component of the environment needs to be there for each player. But we have 10 years of experience. If you ask why we have any component of Operation 36 that you see, why do you have this? Why do you use this? There's a reason to it. There's probably a player we lost because we didn't have it, when you try to kind of cater to the masses to pull them in.
I tell people, as you just mentioned, that young kids, meaning college or players, or or let's say very accomplished juniors that I've worked with or in this area that will come to me, or someone's son or daughter is very good, and they'll ask me, because I played at a professional level, they say, what do you think they need to do? I said, well, the very first thing is they have to want it. Right. And to your point, you build the environment that later on they're going to want to excel. And if modifying their grip or something in their swing is needed, that just becomes something to get them to where their goal is. So, and I tell these young people who want to play golf, I said, you have to want it. Because all the other things become secondary and just something that you need to do in order to get to where you want to go.
Yep.
And playing golf at a professional level, now you're in the elite of the elite. You're going to get beat up a lot. So if you don't want it very badly, you're not extremely passionate about it, you just want to do it because you want to become a millionaire, you're never going to do it. It's never going to happen.
Yep. I completely agree. And the hardest part there is, how do you make someone want it?
Yeah, that has to come internal. And that's why I think another reason you guys, what you're doing is so great, because as you mentioned numerous times, you're creating the environment for them to enjoy it, problem solve, internalize, how do I do this, figure it out, maintain their curiosity, everything involved. And then later on, okay, let's implement maybe a little more mechanical change, but only when needed.
Yep, 100%.
Could you go ahead?
Go ahead. I was just gonna add to it, like, one thing I haven't mentioned is, like, we do have, like, our junior development tracks, right? Which was a component we built in to say, when a student's ready, everyone starts in the discovery track, and then they progress to the social track, and we can see what track they're actually on based on their skill level. But it's up to a student to say, I want to go play college golf. I want to go play high school golf. I want to be on the competitive track. Okay, well, we can actually plot you on this graph and show you where you are based on your age and your skill level, if you're on pace, behind pace, or ahead of pace, right? And by how many years. And this has been super helpful to kind of set parents at ease to know, like, to start to think long term. Where's my kid going to be when they graduate high school? And what is this track that they're on right now? And are they on pace for whatever their goal is? But it's still up to the student, as we educate our coaches, to allow the student to set a goal if and only if they want to, right? If a student says out loud to you, Coach, we make it aware that these tracks are there. We do not tell the student they need to set a goal. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we're doing, is we make it aware that of this narrative that, hey, this is where you play now. When you get a little too good, we set the goal of 36, you get to play a little bit bigger course. We make them aware of this stuff. That's setting a bit of a framework, a bit of a structure. It is not up to us to tell them how to do it necessarily, right? It let them take ownership of it by having the environment, putting it in place, making sure they have a group training environment, making sure they get to hang out with their friends, making sure the games you present them with are fun and engaging, making sure that, your job as a coach is to kind of keep track of that development over time, little by little, which is really easy to do. And they will take ownership of everything. Right. And it's hard. It's easier to do one-on-one, but it's harder to do on a group level. And that's why, but it's also easier to do on a group level to retain people. So it's just a way better environment to do it. But just to touch on that, with the junior development tracks that we have in place, we can kind of project that because we're clarifying where that is. And that's for the coach to have, and for if the student wants to set a goal and go play and they're intrinsically motivated to want to go play college golf, well, we can put them on that track if we want to. But also, think of this, be like, what if you were a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old and you're playing golf and you somehow realize that, hey, I'm on the college track right now, that's pretty cool, where I could potentially go play golf in college. What does that do to your mindset a little bit? Not that I'm saying that you need to go play college golf. You just know that that's where you are, and so does your parent. And is that a positive thing, a negative thing? It could be a positive thing. It could be a negative thing. But our job is to paint a picture, a vision of where you could go, because maybe you don't know. What if you've never even knew what college golf was?
Mm-hmm.
And that was even a thing? Well, you probably wouldn't have that goal in mind, would you?
Provides fuel for that fire.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that makes sense or if the point I'm trying to make is there, but it's so much of like creating that internal drive it doesn't mean that we just let them do whatever they want to do every class, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to put in a narrative around your program, and anyone that's an Operation 36 program, that's all we're helping them do. And because that's in place, that's why we see such a great retention rate, and we see programs filling and having the problem that, gosh, now I don't know how to add any more students, so I need to look at opening another location, or we don't have enough room. And that's the problems that we run into. So that we're still trying to solve.
Is this something that you could utilize in other sports? I know some of them are already using, like you mentioned gymnastics because your daughter's in there, in soccer, but is this a model that you could take to and pick whatever sport you want to insert in the blank line? But is it something that you could use to take this and go to some coaches and some junior programs and other entities and say, hey guys, look at here's what we've done in golf. We think that we can really help you using the same principles in your field.
There's potential. The challenge is golf has a unique opportunity, right? Because there's so many different the way the environment and the game is played, to build something like ours is very specific to golf. The principles underneath what we do, I think that, if you look up long-term athlete development or what, PGA just did ADM, American Development Model, all of these long-term athlete development principles are put into place from a athletic development perspective. Now, at some point, there are sport-specific skills that you need to learn, but probably that underlying foundation of athlete development is across every sport already. Whether some leverage that and lean into the long-term athlete development stuff and follow that structure. But being able to take it and kind of gamify it in a way, or put some structure to it. I bet every sport, and a lot of them already do, like gymnastics, they know how to progress from here to here to here to here. The coaches do, right? And then they make the students aware, and there is like a progression model. Golf is this interesting one, right? Because it's actually a lifelong sport. We're going to play potentially the rest of our life. Tennis is very similar, that you can play it the rest of your life. So I think there's just so much more opportunity in golf to do something the way that we've done it within the golf space. It would be a little bit more challenging to do in some of the other sports, but the principles that we built it on could definitely be built into other sports, right? The idea of, hey, could we, we want to see these skills develop and then these skills. I think that's there. It's just really taking something and it's kind of revert, putting it in reverse. Where do we want to get to? What are all the things that need to be in place? And now let's work backwards to it. But yeah, the principles I think are there. You can't become a good tennis player if you don't hit tennis balls and play tennis, right? You can't become like all the same common things need to be in place for a good program to survive and to actually create a gymnast or create a dancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I see a lot of opportunities, and I've already seen it throughout the, like, my daughter loves to dance, and she'll sit there and watch a YouTube video on dancing, right? It's hilarious to watch because all they're doing is modeling these other kids that are dancing on TV to different songs, and you look at that and go, she's learning a skill, and she's literally in a program right now called the YouTube program.
Right.
I'm gonna watch. I love watching. We'll let her watch some of the things where she can dance and stuff, and she loves it, and she's learning to sing and she's learning to dance, and it is crazy to watch because they're getting better and better, and they're doing it, and no one's telling them what to do. That's just they intrinsically want to do it. So I think in any there has to be some sort of little bit of drive or community built to make it fun when you're going to learn golf for the first time, but it's or any other sport, but those principles are still the same that you and I talked about today. Like, I do believe a better environment is going to create more of whatever the end goal of that to be. Like, in ours are, at Operation 36, we want to create a bunch of 26 handicaps, to be honest with you. That are actually going to pay for a round of golf and play confidently at a full tee box for life. That's why we built what we built.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that it should be a fun and engaging and motivating and social and development experience as possible. And if we can shape that with technology or shape that with coach training or anything, we're going to do it and try it and fail and try it again. And until we got a pretty good plan. But I feel like, we're proud of where we are now. And then if someone joined a program, we feel pretty confident that you would enjoy the experience of becoming a golfer, right? It's a lot of little tweaks here and there that make it a little bit better experience. Yeah, so that would be what I'd say about, I guess, the environment side. And can you apply it to golf? Absolutely. Or to other sports? Absolutely. It's more the principles. You'd have to really dive in and see what the end goal would be of that particular sport.
Makes sense. What's next for you guys in Operation 36?
So I think, it's public knowledge. We made it public a little over a year ago, that our mission is to introduce 1 million new people to playing their first 9 holes over the next 5 years. So we've got about 4 years left. And not only introduce them to playing their first 9 holes, but get them to shoot 36 from 25 yards away, which, just to make it even more challenging, we decided to put that in because we call that, in our eyes, a golfer created. That means that someone's actually played 9 holes, they've seen success on the golf course, and they have that progressive narrative on where they're going to go back to hopefully get the bug to want to learn and train and be out at the golf course and pick up their golf clubs every day. And so now that's where we're headed now, is bigger level thinking of how we accomplish that goal, and how we drive more people to program locations, and how we align with partners within the golf industry and not in the golf industry to create awareness of the game of golf and to pull people in and to provide a tool potentially for existing golfers to pull people into the game and connect them with program locations. So that's what we're up to now, kind of high level overview, our team at headquarters and what we're focused on. And we're always focused on finding new program locations. And that's how we're funded to keep this mission moving, is golf pros and golf facilities investing in the programs at their facilities and believing in having our program there and paying us to do that. And that's how we fund this mission right now. And we're just exploring any and some neat opportunities that are out there to keep growing this and hopefully get to 1 million golfers in the next 5 years.
Cool. It's a good goal, and I'm sure you guys are going to hit it, especially based off what you've done so far.
I appreciate that.
You mentioned the book coming out soon. Any idea when launch date on that and where people can go to look for it and find it and buy it?
Yeah, we just actually launched yesterday on the website, just a place for folks to get announcements about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be in early January. It's coming together nicely, and yeah, we're excited about that. It's called How to Create a Golfer, and the premise of the book is to, anyone that's guiding someone into the sport is what is a blueprint or a plan that they could surround their player with that would guarantee success, right? And it's a lot of the things that you and I talked about today, but it's just more of an actionable plan. Here's how we do this, and this, and this is why we would do these things. And it's kind of we feel like every Become a Golfer book or something like that is always written about the golf swing fundamentals and all this, and none of them are actually a blueprint of this is how you should progress, and this is how you measure it, and this is how you get in, and these are the things you need to do to get better, and this is okay, and this is completely normal. So that way, if you're questioning them, is this worth it? You start to realize like this is all completely normal. And so we're excited about the book coming out, and yeah, you can search it on our website, operation36.golf, and there's a little form you can fill out, and we'll notify you when it's live.
Yeah, and I'll have that link in the show notes. So anybody that goes through the summary and the description, that link will be in there. Just click on it, go right to y'all's website. But with anything else you have coming up, you guys presenting virtually for the PGA show, or you got any webinars that you want to let people know about, anything like that?
For golf pros that are looking to potentially start a location, myself and Ryan are jumping on web. Like right now, we're in program planning mode for a lot of golf facilities. And as we know, we're going into 2021. It's really about getting dates to paper and getting the information out to families right now about the programs that are coming. So we've just been following up with a lot of golf facilities that are interested in bringing the program to their location, and also our existing locations, and helping them make sure everything's good and communicated, and if we can help with anything. So we have webinars consistently set up between now and in February, essentially, every week or every other week, on how to start an Op36 program location and see if it would be a fit at your facility. And golf pros can find that by just visiting the website, clicking on Golf Pros in the menu, and they can learn all about the program and how they could get it to their facility, and jump on a webinar with us, or go ahead and create a free coach account and start going through some training, and our team will reach out to them to see if we can help with anything. So yeah, that would be that's kind of the focus over the next 2 to 3 months, is really us just helping onboard new program locations and make sure our existing program locations are set up for an even bigger 2021.
Cool. And where can people follow you guys? Social media. I'll have the website, and we'll do all the social media links. But if you want to give them out there in case someone's listening and they pop on their iPad or computer and pop it in and start giving you guys likes and follows and all that good stuff.
I love it. It's Instagram and Facebook are our biggest ones. We're also on LinkedIn if you want to keep up with kind of the business side of Op36, and yeah, those are kind of the main channels there. So we appreciate all the likes and comments and follows. That helps out a lot.
Cool. You want to wrap up with about a back nine of rapid fire? I think I've gone over my allotted time you gave, but it's been fun.
No, this has been good. Go ahead.
Let's rip through some pretty good questions. If you're on the Ryder Cup team, your first tee walk-up song would be what?
Oh, gosh. You're gonna hit me with this. Oh gosh, in basketball in high school, we came out to Hell's Bells every time, so I'm gonna go with that.
That's a cool one. I think AC/DC is probably the leader in the answer to that question.
I think I don't know how many times. Like, that's the thing that popped into my head. It's really funny because like on a rapid fire that would pop into my head, but then again, I think about it, and our team came out to that every time in basketball. So that's hilarious.
Let's see. The last book that you read.
Ooh, what? Gosh, I read multiple at one time. So, and I'm not good at titles because I listen to books. Give me just a second because it's right here in front of me.
Sure.
Just a second. I'm a bounce around kind of guy, so that's the reason I'm not sure.
Yeah, I usually have a couple going myself.
The last one I read completely is Contagious: Why Things Catch On.
That's a pretty interesting one in today's times that we're living in.
It's a fantastic book to start to realize. It's a great kind of marketing book, but also just it gets to the root of what we were talking about as well. I approach that book with a mindset of pretty much every book I approach is how do we get people to love the game of golf?
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding people better and their drives and how you can design things in a way that make it fun and motivating. That's a fantastic book that just opened up my eyes to a lot of different things. I mean, one thing that I think golf pros or anybody could benefit from is that over 90% of word of mouth is not on social media. And it makes so much sense that, what your job is as a golf pro is to give someone some social currency, to say, hey, when I'm in a conversation with a bunch of other parents and they're talking about golf programs, how do I get them to share my golf program with all those parents? And you do that through having a product that they can show off their son or daughter, show them tangibly the product. There's all these little pieces you can build into your program. And that's, we've seen that time and time again, but it definitely clarified. It's by Jonah Berger. It clarified why some things work and have really caught on. And it's just an awesome book. It's really neat to kind of analyze yourself after reading it. But yeah, that's the last one
I'll
I
have to
wrote.
check that out.
Yep.
Let's see. Who would you love to caddy for? Anybody in the world?
Oh man. And it could be like a tour pro or anybody.
Tour pro, anybody you want,
Oh
or
my gosh,
anybody throughout golf history.
I know, and I know this is so generic, but like the only reason I got into golf late was I just loved watching Tiger on TV. So I mean, he's probably the least he's probably the most said. I don't know, but I would just it would thrill me to caddy for Tiger, which would mean I would just have to sit there and listen to him tell me what to do. But oh my gosh, that would be unbelievable.
All right. Let's see. Would you rather live 100 years in the past or in the future?
Future all day.
How come?
I just always I'm a vision guy, so I just love seeing where problems lie and how we can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
So just seeing how I'd love to know what I think we're going to be faced with a lot of problems, but there's going to be more complex but also fun ways to solve them in the future.
Right. I agree.
And it's just exciting to think about. The future is always exciting. I mean, if we're not living, I think we have to live here, but I love thinking about what could be in the future and how we solve different problems. So definitely future guy.
If they were going to make a movie about your life, who would play you?
Oh my gosh. I got nobody. I have no idea. That's a fantastic question.
Not The Rock or any of those. Brad Pitt. None of those guys come to mind.
I'd have to find someone who's 30 years old, losing their hair, and So I'm not sure. I'd have to find somebody who's in that boat. So someone who's balding because of their everything going on. So but I'm not sure. Someone. I'm not the best when it comes to pulling people up either off the top of my head. I do watch a lot of comedy, so I hope it would be someone who is plays some comedic parts. I think Jimmy Fallon's a pretty funny guy. That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
If I had Jimmy Fallon or one of the big comedians to play, that'd be fun.
All right, we'll go with Jimmy Fallon then.
Okay, that works.
If you weren't running Operation 36, what would you be doing?
I'd be playing a lot more golf. And I would be coaching something, or starting a business, another business. I love the idea of designing products and designing, as I said, into the future. So I'd probably be playing a lot of golf, coaching golf again, and diving into that more, and or starting another little venture, because this has been. It's so much fun kind of bringing something to life that impacts people's lives.
Cool. Let's see. A couple more. Most used app on your phone.
Asana, Slack, and those are the two. Those are our two tools we use at Op36. So Asana is our project management tool. Slack is our communication tool amongst our team, and then I'm in the Op36 app every day too, with new features and everything rolling out. So those would be my top three.
All right, cool. A couple more. Favorite thing outside of golf?
Favorite thing outside of golf? Definitely family time. When I put work down, and now that I've got my 4-year-old and 7-month-old, it's just so enjoyable to work on something you love every day and then come home to those you love every day. So just work and family. I'm pretty blessed and love my life, and I love hanging out with all my friends that we have as family. So I'm a social person. I can't sit still. So I would say that, or it's that, or learning. Those are kind of the top three on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to books, hanging with family, and working on Op36. Those are the three.
Hey, you got some pretty good ones there. And the last one, the greatest of all time, Tiger or Jack?
Again, I'm gonna go with Tiger.
Hey, it's a good argument for either one.
There is, and if I grew, it's fun to watch Jack. If I grew up watching Jack, I think it would be easier to say. But when the one that inspired you, and makes it fun, and when you're watching Augusta, my wife and I, when you have someone when you're watching just this story, when you watch him win in Augusta, and you're almost sobbing, watching it, like it almost happened. That's just incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible watching that. My wife and I were sitting there, couldn't even talk to one another. It was just, so I got to go with Tiger.
It's a good choice. Like I said, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to either one. Matt, this has been awesome. I really enjoyed when you guys presented here. I learned a hell of a lot more today. Hopefully everybody listening picks it up. Again, I highly recommend everybody check out your guys' website because it's full of information. You can find a Operation 36 site near where you live. And as you said, you're 525 places in 10 countries?
Yeah, I think it's actually, I just looked it up again. It's in 12 countries and 525 locations. And I've seen a lot of the folks that are on a list to sign up for 2021. So it's exciting. There's a lot that wanted to sign up this year and with COVID and everything, but hopefully that's somewhat behind us. And so there should be some local locations near, some new ones coming on board too. And there's room. We need them. I mean, the ones that they're running, they're pretty full. So if your facility's out there and you're looking to attract some new families and give them a developmental program, we'd happy to chat with you. And we have new ways to bring you on board to make it easier and easier. So yeah.
Yep. I highly recommend finding one of those. Check their stuff out and get your kids playing and most importantly, enjoying and developing. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed it, you can find more information on today's episode and other topics at golf360.blog. There you'll find the show notes and links related to this episode, as well as any other episode that we've done so far to date. If you're interested in improving your game and would like to learn more from yours truly by taking a private lesson, a half-day or multi-day school, club or putter fitting, you can reach me through the blog site or by email, pete@golf360.blog. So some of you may be asking, what is the golf paradigm? All you have to do is click on the homepage while on my blog site to discover how you can start playing better than you ever thought possible. Or you can simply sign up, again, on the blog page for my instructional videos where I give regular tips on all areas of the game to include the swing, club design and fitting, health, fitness and nutrition, the mental aspects, and equally as important, the integration of all those things together. I'm also on social media, and you can find me at The Golf Paradigm. That's PARADIGM. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, also under the same name, The Golf Paradigm. Facebook is usually the best way to reach me for questions and or comments, and I look forward to hearing what all of you have to say. This podcast is brought to you in part by Old South Golf Links. A short ride across a bridge from Hilton Head Island is one of the area's finest golf courses and a hidden treasure. Set up on towering pines and ancient oaks with sweeping marsh vistas, truly makes Old South Golf Links a one-of-a-kind golfing experience. The Clyde Johnson design was named one of the top 10 new public courses when it opened, and it also takes full advantage of the natural beauty of the Low Country. Old South is a fun and unique challenge for golfers of every skill level and a favorite of both locals and visitors. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular, you'll be treated and feel like family. From the bag drop to check-in at the fully stocked pro shop with both men's and women's apparel, to breakfast or lunch before or after your round, the staff is always ready and willing to help. Experience for yourself why Old South is one of the premier golf courses in the Hilton Head area and why it will quickly become a favorite of yours too. Visit them in person or online at www.oldsouthgolf.com, or to make it tee time, simply call the pro shop at 843-785-5353.